The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. This is the Steve Austin Show.
Obviously, I'm talking to Daniel Cormier, a double champ, as Michael Bisping says, light heavyweight champion, heavyweight champion. I got a chance to watch UFC 226. Daniel, man, for some reason, I just had a feeling you was going to put together a game plan that you was going to be able to pull off the win. And I'm dude, you know me, as big a pro wrestling fan as you are, I'm just the same as far as the MMA stuff, although I don't speak the language as fluently as everybody that you've been talking to does. But for some reason, I just said, man, DC is such a damn smart fighter. I just figured you were going to dethrone Stipe. But before the fight, you even called it in the first round, knockout. Didn't you?
That was luck, Steve. That was luck.
Were you just talking trash?
No, man, I honestly saw some of the things that he did that might present a chance to land a big shot, but I didn't expect it to happen that early. You know what I mean? Conor McGregor started calling himself Mystic Mac, right? Like Mystic McGregor, I call my shots, and I think he may have gotten lucky too, but if he wants to take credit for it, he can. I knew that when we would get into the clinch, right, when we go chest to chest, I figured that Stipe always kind of backed out with his hands a little bit low, and he kind of hangs his chin up in the air. And I was like, man, if he does that, I know that we can land one of these strikes that we've been landing in the gym. And if we land it right on, we can put him out.
You're known to be a little bit of a slow starter because you're trying to gauge things, get a feel for what the other person's doing, measure their strength, their power, and define your range. When you knocked him out in the first round, I mean, hell of a shot coming out of the clinch with the dirty box. And, like, were you prepared to go deep into this thing? And how did you feel going into this fight knowing, hey, man, this is not a light heavy fight? You guys decided to stay heavy or heavier when you were at the 235 mark because you were wearing it well, you were knocking people out. Where was your gas tank? I mean, with respect to knocking him out in the first round, how did you think if you guys would have went into deep water, how would you have fared not having to cut weight?
No, I felt good. I mean, I can fight 5 rounds. Like that, it's difficult, but I can fight 5 rounds, but honestly, man, into the first round, he was starting to breathe a little heavy, and maybe it was just him kind of getting that initial blowout, and he was going to get his second win and be able to go 5 hard rounds, but he was already starting to breathe a little heavy, Steven. I was just getting started. If I'm being honest, I didn't even feel like I hadn't even started to go into the reserve yet. There was no need to. I think you start going into the reserve tank about into the third round, beginning of the fourth round is when you got to start searching for that next gear. And I hadn't gotten to that point yet in the first round. I feel like we were just kind of starting to pick up on his tempo, really get an idea of where he was in terms of his movements in the octagon. A lot of different things were starting to present themselves as we were going longer in that round. So I felt great. I felt really good. I felt really sharp. I felt like I could have fought forever, So now, does that not mean that mid-second round he hit me with something and I start to get tired or, he goes and finds a finish? No, that doesn't mean that. That just means that at that point, I still felt really good.
How confident did you feel going into that fight, and did you feel at home being back in the heavyweight division where you're 14-0?
I did. I feel good at heavyweight. I cut a lot of weight. I mean, I don't even know if people, some people were saying stuff like, DC, you gained 40 pounds since January. No, I didn't gain 40 pounds. It's what I weigh. I just cut all that weight down to 205. I lose 40 pounds regularly to fight in this weight class. So, if not more. I felt good not having to worry about the nutrition, dieting, and everything. But, early in the training camp, I was hurt. It was very difficult for me carrying the extra weight. My back always was bothering me. I felt a little sluggish. But then as camp went on, my body started to go, okay, you can do this. You remember this. You did this for the first 13 fights of your career. You can do this. You can fight heavy. And once I realized that and my body kind of got in a little better shape and everything, it was all systems go.
How long did your fight camp last? 2 months or 3 months?
I usually start about 3 months out in what I call a pre-camp. I do a pre-camp. I don't just go right in the full-on training camp. I do a pre-camp where I start to kind of get in shape and start to get myself training. And then about 8 weeks out, that's when I start to hit it real hard. That's when I start to really try to push the cardio, push the conditioning, push the sparring. A lot of that stuff, honestly, Steve, is normal. You know, it's what I do all the time. I always train, but whenever I'm getting prepared for a fight, there's just a little bit more focus on those other things. You know, the conditioning and the timing and everything else. But I'm always in the gym. It's just a matter of me preparing myself for a fight.
Man, I know you're getting a lot of cardio from your sparring routine, but just additional cardio to get the win that you need for a potential 5-round fight. What are you guys doing? How many hours, are you in the gym a day in that last 2-month period heading into the fight?
You know, I'm usually there. I usually get up at 7 in the morning, and I do some mid-work, and then after the mid-work, I jump on the treadmill for about 1.5 miles, 2 miles, and then I go from 12 to 2. And that's where I do my main training, right? My sparring, my jiu-jitsu, and everything else. From there, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I do conditioning. I do an Aerodyne bike workout. On Friday, I usually jump on the track and run with my strength and conditioning coach, Chris Camacho. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, I'm also with my coaches hitting pads and preparing. And then on Saturday, I get in the pool. Right, I work a really intense cardio workout in the pool with Camacho.
Hey man, what's your Aerodyne workout? Because I was just I got an air assault bike, which is basically the twin of what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And man, I picked out a workout to try to spool up my cardio, so I kind of know about that thing and how devastating it can be. What's your workout routine once you get on that cycle? I
will be on the Aerodyne for a minute, and we try to keep the Aerodyne over 80 RPMs the whole time. Once we're done with the Aerodyne for that minute, we jump on we get off and we do drills, whether it's wrestling drills, jiu-jitsu drills, hitting the pads, hitting the bag, kicks. We're just constantly mixing up those drills in between because Bob Cook developed this Aerodyne workout and he feels like that is the closest thing you're going to get to a fight. A really, really hard press and then maybe like a little bit of time where you're still working, but you're not working with that intensity. But in the drills, I mean, we're still pushing it. You know, it is probably the most intense 30 minutes that I have all training camp, honestly. That Aerodyne is no joke. We took that to the Ultimate Fighter, and the kids were like, you guys are crazy. But the ones that embraced it, it showed in their preparation and in their fights.
Man, how scientific are you with that bike and as far as, spiking your heart rate with respect to, the work you're putting in or just from a, hey, here's a number standpoint, DC's heart rate is this. Does any of that ever come into consideration?
It does. Camacho is really big on, he even had me sparring for a while with a heart rate monitor just because he needed to see where I was topping off, where I was, what ranges I was staying in during my sparring. Seeing how much it was dropping in between rounds. All that stuff is so key. If that heart rate is staying up real high, even in between rounds, you got problems. You got problems heading into your fight if your heart rate's not dropping a certain amount of beats per minute in between rounds. So when we found out, or when we start to get in real good shape, you start to see the heart rate really plummets, Steve. Like it's amazing how much goes down in a matter of 1 minute whenever you're in peak physical condition to go and fight for 25 minutes. It's crazy.
I'm glad you guys are keeping tabs on them numbers because I'm just a huge numbers guy. And like I said, I wear my heart rate monitor while I'm on my cycle. And I do the same thing. Once I've achieved the task at hand, man, I'm waiting to see what that recovery process is. And I know that the more I'm in shape, the faster that process happens. So throw a couple of numbers at me just as far as, revving it up during a fight or on that bicycle, because normally you'd take 220 minus your age for your max heart rate. So 220 minus 39. But what kind of numbers were you hitting, DC?
What I do is, I look at my resting heart rate. I know when it's resting and I'm between 50 and 65 beats a minute, I know I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good to go. I feel like, okay, I'm in shape and I'm ready to fight. But then when I'm sparring, right, that 50, and this is always the funniest thing, whenever I get ready to spar, Steve, and this is in the gym, I'll be at 55 beats per minute, and Bob Cook will have the phone with the heart rate monitor. And as soon as I get in the cage, because it's still a cage, my heart rate spikes up to about 90. And he's like, you do it every time. He goes, it is amazing that you've been fighting as long as you have, and you still get those nerves every time you go to spar. I do this little routine before I spar every time, and I can manage my heart rate back down. A little bit of breathing, a little bit of try to like center myself before I go into my sparring. And then it usually was jumping to about 150 a minute when I'm in real intense hard sparring. And then I was usually dropping about 50 per minute in between rounds. So I'd get back down to about 100, 110. And as the rounds went longer, it may go up a little bit more, like 160, and then get down to about 120. I wasn't recovering as fast as the rounds went longer, but it was okay because I was still dropping 40 beats a minute, which is great. That means I was doing a good job of monitoring and managing my energy to bring my body back down to a place where I can compete effectively.
Hey, man, a couple of months ago, I got a chance to take part in Raw 25. It was at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And all I was going to do was go out there and give a stunner to Shane McMahon and Vince McMahon. And that glass broke, and, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of words said between us. We were just go out there. We went over it just one time, and I knew what we were going to do. And, dude, as soon as that glass broke, my heart started jumping out of my chest because I haven't been in front of a crowd in so damn long. And the Barclays, they blew the roof off the place. So, man, I was like in full BMF mode, talking trash while I was walking down there, and I hit the four corners. And then I was just supposed to stand there and, listen to Vince cut his promo and then offer up Shane as a victim rather than himself. And, dude, while he's talking, I'm sitting there trying to be cool as a cucumber. And I swear to God, if I'd have had my heart rate monitor on, I had to be at 140 or 150. Just, I mean,
you were in the middle. You were in the middle of the assault bike. Like you were getting deep into the assault workout.
DC, it is scary when you're standing in the middle of a ring and my heart's beating so fast and there's no physical exertion. And I'm thinking, dude, I'm trying to, if you watch, I'm huffing and puffing. I'm trying to get my heart under control. But my point is, man, that's that nerves. I mean, that's that nervous energy. And I was looking forward to it. And I wasn't nervous about anything, but that's what I've seen guys at a WrestleMania moment. I can see them walk down the ramp and they'll blow up just because of nerves. So I know that, you're basically, you're an MMA guy, but you love the best of pro wrestling. I just kind of want to throw that out there just from an entertainment standpoint, man. The crowd and that nervous factor takes a toll on you. So my question to you is, going out there, man, I'm guessing, I know every fight is the biggest fight of your life, but I mean, man, you're the light heavy champion. You're fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. And so how did you feel, as you headed down to the octagon? What were you thinking, pre-fight there in the locker room? And then I know you run your sprints. I want to talk about Brock Lesnar later. But what were you feeling just when you were in your zone, backstage, and then as you walked to that ring? Because I'm assuming you're a professional. You've been doing this forever. But, dude, how were you feeling? It's a big moment.
It's crazy, Steve, because it's the unknown, right? You're fighting the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. You don't – and everybody talks. I mean, like you said, you're a massive fan of the sport. So you're in tune with everything. You watch and you see, the build-up. And because a lot of people are really into the pre-fight, like, wow, this is going to be a great fight. But all you heard was he knocked out Overeem. He knocked out Fabricio Verdum. He knocked out this guy, and he knocked out that guy. And so the whole time, I was kind of thinking, like, okay, how hard does this guy really hit? You know what I'm saying? Because this guy be as powerful as they're saying. And if he is, what happens the moment he makes contact at the beginning of the fight? So I'm back there almost making reasons why I'm going to lose. I'm sitting there going, like nervous, just like, what's going to happen here? This is a tough one. But I'm prepared. I'm like, okay, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. And then I start saying to myself, Steve, I go, I'm 39 years old. I've done this forever. I've accomplished so much. Win or lose, this is it. I'm done. I don't need this anxiety. So it's like you're telling yourself all these things. Like, I don't need to be dealing with this anxiety anymore. I feel I'm having a damn heart attack back here. And then when they say, okay, we're walking, DC, because they always come get us. They always come and they go, time to go, DC. And I'm like, all right. So me and my coaches we get ready to go. They walk you to your mark. And I look behind me, and it's all my coaches, and Cain Velasquez is there, and Luke Rockhold is there, and I hug the boys, and I take on that walk, and I think to myself, what am I talking about? There is no place in this world I would rather be, because you hear your entrance music before you make the walk, and, man, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. When that music hits the speakers, I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere else. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in this world than right here in this place with this opportunity. So I gather myself, and I'm just like, let's go do this thing, man. Like, fuck, what am I talking about? This is what I want to help them do. Let's go shock the world, you know?
Does the crowd have any effect on the guys in the octagon? Because it does in the ring, man, because you live and die for a pop when you make your entrance, because, I mean, we're obviously a little more show business. I mean, and y'all are entertainment, but this is professional fighting. When you're in there, amidst the course of whether it's boos, cheers, this, that, or whatever, does the crowd affect the momentum of a fight when a guy starts lighting another guy up and all of a sudden that crowd will start coming? Because the UFC crowd is a very fickle crowd, because you can have two outstanding fighters out there and maybe their styles kind of cancel each other out. So, man, it's a chess game in there. I mean, the stakes are high. And the crowd will start shitting on them and start booing just because they're not having a slugfest. So does the crowd affect the fighters in the ring? Or are you thinking, hey, man, well, what the F are these guys, booing or cheering about? Or do they come into play?
They do. I mean, you hear them. You definitely hear them when you're in there. You can tell when you land a good shot. You can tell when the guy lands a good shot on you, or if the crowd thinks that the guy landed a good shot on you, because they'll pop for him. Like you said, they were a lot of fans last weekend were 2 weekends ago were very supportive of Stipe Miocic. So I heard it. Stipe, you know? But it's a matter of how you let the crowd affect what you're doing in there or your approach to the fight. I've been in a fight where when me and Alexander Gustafsson fought, the crowd was, like you say in wrestling, they call it red hot. It was hot all night because we were just going at each other. But then when I fought Anderson Silva, they were restless. They were booing because I kept taking them down. But I wasn't going to allow that to dictate my approach to the fight because I knew that we had a way we were going to fight the fight, and that's what I was going to stick to.
Hey, man, what'd you say to Stipe after that fight?
All I said to him was good. I said, hey, good job, man. Shit happens. Because he's a guy that I like. He's a guy that I respect a ton, So just kind of tapped him and kind of just, I never really I said to his coaches more than Stipe, because Coach Marinelli and all of his coaches are great guys. I said to them, hey, it's the game, that we play. We've all been there, but he'll be back. It's a rough game, man, because somebody has to lose, and you obviously don't want it to be you, but when it's a guy like Stipe, who's a really, really solid guy, it's tough, but it is what it is.
Do you think he underestimated you?
I don't think he underestimated me. I think he was just extremely confident because he should have been. Because why would it be any different than what he's been dealing with? I mean, he has been dealing with the biggest, scariest heavyweights in the entire world for a couple years now, and nobody's really challenged him. So why wouldn't he be super confident with a guy that's coming up to fight him in his division? So yeah, he was just in his confidence. I just think that people didn't understand how I was so confident also going into this big fight.
Hey, man, word on the street was, and you've said it plenty in your interviews, that you were knocking guys out in training camp. I mean, how often was this happening? And you brought up the name of Cain Velasquez and Luke Rocco later. Were those guys involved in the sparring process? No. Luke had surgery on his leg. There's never been a day in the world where I've knocked out Cain Velasquez. Most times when I'm going with Cain Velasquez, I'm just trying to survive. I'm like, man, I know
that if I can go with this dude daily, right, and go hard with this dude daily and survive, I'm not even talking winning against Cain Velasquez. If I'm just surviving against Cain Velasquez, I know that I'm beating the vast majority of the people in the world, right? That's another thing that gives me tremendous confidence going into these fights, because I know who my training partner is, and I know how good he is. And still to this day, I still think he's the baddest man in the world.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show. This is the Steve Austin Show.
Well, man, you said Stipe's the greatest champion of all time in the heavyweight division. So, man, the way he's defended that belt and accomplished everything that he has, you'd think they would be in line for an automatic rematch. As other people have said, hey, man, I'm deserving of the rematch, and they've gotten those fights. Man, all of a sudden, there's big, badass Brock Lesnar, and all of a sudden he's in the octagon. I'm thinking, oh, shit, here we go. And that looks like that's going to be the next big fight, and it's going to be a huge fight. So where are you with Stipe wanting a rematch? Him obviously thinking he deserves a rematch and that Dana should grant him this. But, dude, the match between you and Brock Lesnar is absolutely huge. I buy damn near every single pay-per-view anyway, but I'm damn sure buying that one.
Obviously, he feels he deserves a rematch. Again, for what he's done in the sport, you would think that he would get a rematch. But when there's a fight like Lesnar on the horizon, man, you don't turn your back to that. And honestly, look, Stipe has a lot of really loyal fans, but you can't think for a second that if he would have won that fight, he wouldn't have wanted or taken the Lesnar fight. It's the biggest fight in the sport outside of fighting Conor McGregor, and he fights at 155 pounds. So, yeah, I'm going to fight Brock. You know, Brock's a big, fat, tough boy. You know, former UFC champion. Obviously, he's the WWE champion. I'm just a massive guy with a lot of fighting ability. You know, and I've known Brock for a real long time, and I'm excited to compete against him and really not compete against him. I want to put it on him. Because when you beat a guy like Brock Lesnar, you're really, I mean, if I beat the most dominant heavyweight champ of all time and then couple that with a fight over Brock, they may call me one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
Let's just say it went the other way around, DC. Let's just say Stipe would have knocked you out, and then all of a sudden here comes Brock Lesnar to the ring, to the octagon to make that fight. Was that a potential matchup as well, or was it strictly a thing between, if you won, you and Brock Lesnar?
No, I mean, look, I think Brock, who picked Stipe before the fight, right? Brock picked Stipe before the fight. So I think Brock, you and I know from being around Brock Lesnar, when Brock Lesnar shows up, dude's most time looking for a fight, right? He ain't just coming to watch the UFC. He's coming looking for a fight.
Yeah.
So when I'm in the octagon, Steve, my music just got done playing. I'm in a very unfamiliar place because normally as the champion, you come out second, right? You don't get to stand there and wait for your opponent. But Stipe is the baddest man on the planet. Stipe is the heavyweight champ, so I go first. And as I'm standing in the blue corner, I'm like pacing back and forth, and I look through the octagon, and Brock Lesnar is just staring at me, but he's smirking, right? Like, I'm trying to ignore Brock because I'm like, okay, I mean, obviously I got something really important on my plate right now. I don't have time to be worried about Brock smirking at me and shit right now. So I look over there. He's standing there, and he's kind of like looking at me like, you know, you get this done. It's go time. But after the fight, I was like, hey, get in here. I mean, you're here for a fight. We'll give you a fight. The one thing about us, man, like, you know, you won't find many guys, fighters in the UFC that is aware of the fight, and we don't kind of go to it. You know, I was very aware he was there, and if he was there, he must have been looking for a fight, so I wanted to give it to him. I just didn't really remember how big he is until he walked into the octagon.
He gave you a pretty good shove once you got inside that octagon. A little bit of horsepower behind that shove. It really reminded me a lot of when Tyson shoved me because he pushed the shit out of me. And we were roughly probably about the same weight, but Brock came in there big as a house. He shoved you back a couple of feet. Did it surprise you?
Steve, it surprised me so much because, look, like I said, you know, I've known Brock for a long time, or I've known of him and been a fan, and we wrestled together. when we were in college. So I've known Brock Lesnar. And he was coming into the octagon, and I was thinking to myself, we're going to go chest to chest, and, if this fight's going to happen, they'll have a great visual, right? I'm thinking there's going to be a great visual, big old Brock Lesnar in the octagon with me, and we'll go chest to chest, we'll jaw at each other a little bit, and we'll see what happens. Well, Brock wasn't having that. He pushed me. He came in hot, too, and that's the thing I should have recognized, I should have recognized that he was coming in as fast as he was. I didn't really pay attention, and he pushed me. If I knew that he was going to push me, I would have kind of dug my feet into the ground so that he didn't kind of make me go flailing like that. I hate that it seemed like he threw me so far across the octagon. Because then he even said it to me. He goes, "You feel that?" I'm like, "Of course you feel strong. Wasn't fucking ready for you to push me."
DC, if that fight doesn't happen, will you drop back down to light heavy to defend that belt? And if you did, or when you do, dude, how tough of a cut is that going to be now that you're back home and feeling good in the heavyweight division?
It'll be tough, but it's always tough. I mean, it's well documented how difficult it is for me every time I go to 205. This will be nothing new. The next time I have a light heavyweight fight, I'll go down there, make the weight, and I'll fight. I just don't know who it's going to be. I feel like the light heavyweight division right now, we don't have many contenders. I mean, Alexander Gustafsson is a tough guy, but his opponent just for a lot of the fights, so I don't even know if he's going to have an opportunity to earn that title shot, the rematch between him and I.
I was watching the clip today, and I think, I guess you had mentioned that Shogun Rua could be next in line if you were to defend that belt.
Yeah, if he fought well. And, Shogun has won 3 fights in a row. And if he beats his kid today or tomorrow, well, I think Sunday, they fight Sunday. If he beats his kid Sunday, who just knocked out Rashad Evans, that's 4 in a row. So that would make him a contender for the title. I mean, and he's a legend and a guy that I've been a fan of my entire life. You get a chance to fight a guy like Shogun, you take it. So we'll see what happens. But somebody's really gonna have to separate themselves from everybody else in order to get me to go back down to 205. But I have no problem against it. I do want to keep this belt. I don't want to have to give it up because the UFC doesn't believe I can make the weight. I can make the weight, and I can go fight back there.
When you won a heavyweight championship, it just seemed like it was one of those surreal moments, and I hate that word, but I'll use it. And it's just almost like you believed it, but you couldn't believe it, and you're just happy as hell. Now that it's sank in, you've had a couple of days to really digest it, get back to your normal life. How are you feeling about what you've accomplished? And, back when I was in my wrestling career, I was so far in the forest, I couldn't see the trees. Where are you at, man?
I'm trying to look back and take it all in because you're right. Sometimes you're riding so hot, man, that you really don't take a moment to see everything. I'm in a situation now where I've done something that was so unbelievably unexpected that I need to just stop and bask in it a little bit. That's what I'm kind of starting to do now, realize that, boy, what we accomplished on July 9th was a really, really big deal. And we need to appreciate it. Appreciate the UFC for giving us the opportunity. Appreciate Stipe Miocic for going into a fight where he had everything to lose and very little to gain. So appreciate my coaches, everybody, my wife, my family, for just supporting me, believing in my dream. It was a big deal, Steven. I really needed this, because I've been the light heavyweight champion for 3 years, but there's always been that Jones thing tied to that title. And now I have something so completely opposite from him or separate from him that no one can ever question.
Do you think Jon Jones could have handled Stipe the way you did?
Man, I got to be honest with you. That Jones is a phenomenal fighter, and I think that he would present a lot of problems for a lot of guys. So I don't question whether or not he could have fought and been successful against Stipe. I just don't know if he would ever take the risk of trying. He said it himself. It's one thing to fight at heavyweight. It's another thing completely to fight a really good heavyweight. So it never seemed like he truly had any intention of going up there. Well, I'm the champ now, so if he wants to fight up there, he can.
At the light heavyweight division, what about Jon Jones has been your kryptonite?
I don't know. Is
it mental?
No. I always feel, in the fight, at the fight, I always feel like I'm going to win the fight. I don't know. There is a lot coming at you when you fight him, you know, and that's regardless of my feelings for him as a competitor, as a person. There's a lot coming at you, you know. He does a lot of things, you know, and I believe that's why I was so confident against Stipe. You know, he's a punching guy and he's a wrestler, you know, whereas with Jones, there's just so much more. There's punches, there's kicks, there's knees, there's elbows. There's just so many different things coming the entire time that you fight him. So I think that's what makes it more difficult. I'm not a delusional guy. I know that it would be a tough fight at heavyweight. A few pounds doesn't change that much, you know. But I do believe that at that weight, or 205, I still feel I can get it done.
Hey, man, referee Mark Goddard was giving you a couple of warnings about the eye pokes. And then in Jon Jones, you're always going to hear about the eye pokes. So certainly there was people, when I'm reading all the comments on YouTube, hey, man, eye poke this, eye poke that. Man, take me through these things, what you were doing or what you were feeling or how it was happening.
So what happened was I poked Stipe in the eye once, but the referee warned me a number of times about keeping my hands closed, right? He was like, keep your hands closed, keep your hands closed. But I try to gauge my opponents. Again, I'm normally the shorter guy in there, so I try to gauge where my opponents are. So I try to get my range by grabbing at him. Thing was, Stipe was coming in as we were grabbing at each other. Goddard was very aware of my hands being open. On the one time that I poked him in the eye, it's a combination that I do a lot, right? I throw an inside leg kick, and then I throw a right hand from the switch stance. That time, my hand came open because honestly, in practice with 16-ounce gloves, there are a lot of times where I feel like my hand is open when I'm throwing that punch, and I'm almost slapping my training partners. But that time, my finger poked him. But then, even right before the finish, him and I went into a combination where I did the same combo. Inside leg kick, right hand from the switch stance, but my hands were closed this time, and it was just a clean landed punch. That's my fault. I should have kept my hands closed, but by no means, Steve, was I trying to poke Stipe Miocic in the eye. It's crazy that people wouldn't even believe that.
No, I didn't figure it was either. And then on the one slow motion replay I was watching, there was one where you really threw a big right hand, and it almost was like you said, in 16-ounce gloves, it's almost like you were just trying to. You had made full extension. It was almost like you were just trying to go a little further to extend your range, and the fingers came out. And so, obviously, I'm not making up excuses. I'm just saying that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
So how does that bother you because there's a lot of people, you know, they're saying, man, if it wasn't for the eye pokes, I got it from Jon Jones. Does that taint it or make it any less satisfying for you? The fact that there's a few people out there that's like, hey, man, he's poking him in the eyes.
No, I mean, it's unfortunate for Stipe because fans, that don't matter. But for Stipe to say, well, you know, I did get poked in the eye, you know, those things hurt, that sucks, you know, because he's my fellow competitor, and I don't want to think that he got a raw deal. But I would never, ever do anything like that purposely. I was just trying to gauge my range in the fight.
Hey, man, what are you weighing at right now?
About the same, like 245. I don't really gain much. I usually stay around this area, you know, unless I'm really, really big, you know. So it's usually about the same, 245 area. But
there was a time in training camp that you were around 235. But you guys just said, hey, man, let's stay heavy. You're feeling good. You're carrying the power, or you're showing more power. You're knocking guys out. How hard is it to maintain that?
When I start to lose the weight, it's because I'm making a conscious effort to do that. The coaches just noticed that when I was heavier, my punches were having a little more of an effect on my training partners than when I start to lose weight. You know, some of my partners who are very good fighters in their own right, they give me a ton of problems when I'm fighting at 205. But when I was up at heavyweight and I was heavier, it just seemed like I was controlling the action a lot better. And that's what the coaches were really happy about. And that's what the coaches wanted to keep going as we went into our training.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Hey man, I was just thinking about this one. It seemed like, and I was watching a lot of your colleagues break down this fight who are analysts, but it seemed like it was a lot easier for you to get in range with Stipe than it was with the two fights with Jon Jones. Was that part of the lessons learned from fighting Jon Jones, or just something with which the way Stipe fights? Or am I totally wrong on this?
No, you're right. The range was easier because at heavyweight they're bigger, but they're a little bit slower. So like I said, with Jones, there's a lot coming at you. He's throwing a number of different strikes, and he's a fast guy for, he's 205 pounds. He's long, but he's only 205 pounds. When you fight a 245-pound man that's used to fighting other 245-pound, 250, 60-pound men, they move a little bit different. They react a little bit different. And Stipe was honestly coming into me what made the range easier. He was more than willing to engage me in the type of fight that I wanted. So it made me getting close to him a lot simpler.
So that played into your game plan, the fact that he was engaging you.
Oh, yeah. If I can fight close, I'm usually doing pretty good. And Stipe was more than willing to fight me in close.
I was watching one of your interviews. You said when you start walking guys down, they tend to start fading. You started walking Stipe down. Did you feel him starting to fade, or you were causing him discomfort or angst?
Yeah, you could tell. I could feel it. I could tell that he was starting to not only get a little bit tired, but they go from more offense to defense. How do I survive? Just those types of things. You can see it in the way that they're fighting. And honestly, Steve, when you're constantly on the defense, you get more tired, right? Because you're never dictating. You're always kind of reacting and responding. So I like to walk guys down, and when I start feeling like, okay, this guy can't really hurt me, this guy's not gonna do anything that's so damaging I won't be able to continue, I start to really fight my fight. And I feel like that's what was starting to happen towards the end of the first round. Stipe Miocic is a great fighter, but I do feel like the longer that fight would have gone, the worse it would have gotten for him.
Very interesting. You said into the fight, you like to start slow, feel a guy out, get your range, see what he's bringing. How long did that fight go by before he started hitting you with those shots? And there's a couple of good ones, but you said, hey, man, this guy don't hit as hard as I thought he was going to hit. And that's with respect to how hard he hits. I'm just saying that's what you said. It wasn't it wasn't a ton of bricks.
Well, it was because there was this one combination where Stipe went 1-2, 1-2, and on the second 1-2, I didn't see the punch, right? And it landed good and it landed clean, but it didn't kind of make me go like, oh my goodness, Dan Henderson just hit me.
Yeah.
Dan Henderson hit really hard. Even from the clinch, I was like, wow, this dude hits hard. I could tell that this dude had a lot of power. I never really felt that in this fight.
With this win, I know you were just in Los Angeles. I was talking to you yesterday. When you called me back, I was in Home Depot trying to get a barbecue pit. How much? I know you're doing a lot of media.
How's that when you walk into Home Depot and people see you like, what? Stone Cold and Home Depot?
Well, the one dude that called me out, I said, hey, man, I'm talking to Daniel Cormier. So he popped on that. You've got all these media obligations, following up on the fight. Everybody wants to hear from, two-division champ, obviously, recently crowned heavyweight champ. So you're doing all that. But, man, I've been so happy to see you get a lot of the endorsements you've gotten, because it's always nice to get a payday from outside the octagon or from the squared circle where I came from. How do you like that stuff? I mean, it's got to be gratifying. It's got to be. Dude, just kind of like that Ronda Rousey thing where you cross over and all of a sudden you're doing commercials for everybody. That's you enjoying that? I'm
enjoying it. I feel like that's just another source of income for my family, another way for me to provide. And ultimately that's the goal. Make a life for your family, my wife and my kids, to where they're okay. And that is better than anything I've ever done athletically. The idea that I can give them and provide for them in a way that they can live a life that me, when I was a kid, could only dream of and wish for. So yeah, all these things are great. And I love that I'm getting these opportunities.
Hey, man, I had Post Malone on the podcast about a year ago. He cruises up to my house in a Rolls Royce Wraith. It was about a $350,000 car with 2 18-packs of Bud Light. Are you spending your money on cars? Are you? Because I know that you're pretty resolute in retiring at 40, and maybe
yes.
2 big fights left or whatever it is, DC. But how have you been with respect to the business of your money? Because everybody says in the wrestling business, hey, man, it's great that they're paying us, but I just soon do it for free. I know the fight game is a different business, but you're a fighter. That's what you do. That's what you love. But you damn sure don't want to do it for free. You learn the business end of it. You get the big paydays when you can, because that's what it's all about. It's about dollar signs. So have you been responsible on the backside of managing your money and make it grow and work for you?
Oh, yeah, Steve. So right now, I am the owner of 3 poke restaurants. It's called Poke OG. There's ones in Florida, California, Boston. They're doing phenomenally well, especially the one in Miami. Then I also have 2 barbershops down in Southern California where the guys are just crazy and it's just super steady. And some real estate businesses, ventures. I just do a lot of different things to try to make sure that we're diversifying our money and just being safe. I mean, I don't buy much. My wife has a nice car, and I got a truck. I mean, I've always wanted. When I thought that I would ever have any money, I was like, man, the first thing I'm buying is a Range Rover. Didn't buy a Range Rover. I thought I was gonna be a Range Rover. It was my dream car. I bought me a Ford Raptor, which is a badass truck, and that's it. I bought a house, and just the things that I need for my kids. You know, I'm able to send my kids to a really, really good school, and those are the things that matter, because, you know, once I'm old and retired, and hopefully this education that these kids are getting at the school will pay off, and they can start taking care of me.
That's good to hear, man, because just coming from the world I come from, and, I've seen, a fair amount of MMA guys as well. You know, you go through a hell of a career, and some of the guys in our business, either don't pay their taxes or they get on a bad habit of something, or it's the car thing, and all of a sudden they just they don't think about Uncle Sam. They don't think about the future, and someone's had a tremendous career, and 2 years later, it's just like, man, well, what did it do with all the money? So, dude, you got to be so responsible about that. So I'm glad you're doing that. Before we go, I want to ask you if you've been able to watch WWE and check out the success that Ronda Rousey has had, because I think she's doing a phenomenal job. Interesting transition. I know she's a lifelong fan, just like you are. Have you had a chance, I know you were busy getting for that fight, but a chance to watch what Ronda has done in the WWE?
It is ridiculous how good she is so fast.
Oh, unbelievable.
It's ridiculous. You know, I got to be honest with you. Like, the way that I watch WWE stuff, not nearly as much as I used to, because I feel like the writing and everything, the storylines aren't as strong as they used to be back in the day, right? Back in the day, stories were strong, man. You knew when you tuned in on a Monday night, you're going to be entertained, you're going to be invested in the stories and everything. But I do believe that they're doing a good job writing Ronda's stories and also highlighting her strengths when she's in the ring, right? When she wrestled in that match with Kurt Angle and Triple H and them in the very first match,
yeah, 34.
She did everything she could have probably done the day she walked into the performance center, because they highlighted all of her strengths, and she's just getting better. It is amazing how well she's doing, especially knowing how long she's been a fan of the product. You know, it's refreshing to see, and I'm just so happy for Ronda that she's happy, because fighting at that point, by the time she was done fighting, it didn't make her happy anymore. And you don't want to see that for anyone. And
you can tell she's having a good time, and she's a lifelong fan, I think, because she's been a fan for so long, and specifically of Roddy Piper, who was tremendous as an entertainer.
Yes.
She understands what the business is about. And so I think through kind of like this osmosis thing, or the fact that she watched it forever and was a fan, it was something she was really passionate about. She kind of picked it up. But also, I think this, in professional wrestling, basically it's a simulated fight, and you're trying to tell a story. You're trying to take this crowd on a ride, ups and downs. You're telling a story, most times between, good versus a bad guy, or good versus evil. But I also think...
You changed that, CC. Let me say this. You single-handedly have completely changed the dynamic of professional wrestling, and I don't think it's ever going to go back. I don't think it's ever going to go back to the way it was before when you and Brian Pillman walked out as the Hollywood Blonde and everybody booed you because that's what they were supposed to do. But now, when you became Stone Cold Steve Austin and the fans go, wait a minute, I know I'm supposed to hate the guy, but he seems pretty cool. And then, the whole Bret Hart thing back in the late 90s, everybody started treating Bret as the bad guy and you as the good guy. And I don't think it's ever going to go back because I go to events, Steve, and I listen to Kevin Owens get cheered, but then they boo all the people that my son loves as a kid, right? John Cena, Roman Reigns. They get booed out of the building. But the guys that are kind of despicable get cheered. And that's because of you. You changed the business. You changed the business, man. Before, if Sting, think about it, all those great heroes from back in the day, right? Sting and when the Steiner brothers were the clean-cut boys from Michigan, the wrestlers, and Hulk Hogan, and all these guys that just were, the Hacksaw Jim Duggan was a good guy, representing the United States and everything, and everybody hated Demolition, and everybody hated Andre the Giant, and everybody, they would get cheered in this day and age. They would get cheered because you changed the business, man. It's crazy. I watch it, and I'm just like, this is insane that this really did start during your run. I mean, you left a lasting impact on a business that's been around forever, man. You should be very proud about that.
Yeah, but, I always tell everybody, and I'll get off this real quick, but Superstar Billy Graham was the guy that I was. But when Vince Sr. had Superstar Billy Graham, he was this heel in New York City, in the territory, but they were selling out the Garden, and he became so entertaining that people started really liking Superstar, and then Backlund beat him. And, all they had to do was kind of, change his opponents into being heels, and he would have been a baby. So he would have been 20 years before me, but that never happened. But going back to, and I don't know if I certainly changed the business for better, for worse. I don't know. I just know I had a good time and I had a good run. But just going back to Ronda real quick, I think that because one of the reasons she's so natural to the ring, in my opinion, because she's had so many big fights. Some of those fights didn't last long, but there were those holy shit moments, which she understands because she was there when the crowd just went apeshit. I mean, whether it's grabbing, like 7 arm bars in a row, people just shit themselves because it's like a holy shit, she did it again, or just wait till she takes someone over. So I think that translates. I think she has a feel for what, is a big moment or a pop because she's, again, it's a simulation of a real fight, but she's lived those moments and she understands those moments because she got that organic, true pop when she was thrashing people as a fighter. And again, she's been on the downside of that as well. And
she, and not only just at the UFC level. I mean, even all the way when she was in the Olympics. It's like for her whole life she's been in front of crowds.
Yes.
So she understands what people want to see. It's not like she's guessing. Sometimes you'll get people that start and you'll watch, like I got a friend right now that's going into he just left his tryout at the WWE. Big heavyweight from Duke University, name is Jake Casper. They're so high on him. Big, strong looking kid, good looking kid, has the potential in the body to do well. But he hasn't really performed on a massive, massive stage like an Olympic Games or like a UFC or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how he transitions. I know it'll take a little bit of time, but he fully can get it. I think he'll get it in time, but with a person like Ronda, when your whole life is essentially on display, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're pretty comfortable in those environments.
Okay, man. I agree with you. You said you're going to retire at 40. So I don't want to ride off in the sunset. I'm not ever going to talk to you again. But if you do indeed retire at 40, so many people that enter the wrestling game don't have an exit strategy. Obviously, you're outstanding at the analytical game, commentating. So would you go into that, or you thinking something else, or would you consider anything in the squared circle?
Well, I would always consider that. I've always loved wrestling since I was a kid. So, of course, if I had an opportunity, I would definitely look at it. But for me, it's going to be commentary. I mean, I already do it right now. I'm regularly part of the commentary team for the UFC at the pay-per-views and at the events. So I'm going to do that. Also, I'm the head coach now at a high school of my own in Kilroy. I'm the head wrestling coach at Kilroy High School, so I'll coach for fun. And then I can just really focus on my family, man. Like, spending more time with Selena. My kids are now really getting into athletics pretty seriously. My daughter is a crazy little gymnast. My son is wrestling, plays football and baseball. So we have a ton of stuff that's going to keep us really busy, and I'll work on the TV side of things whenever I'm not dealing with the family.
Man, that's an awesome game plan. Before I let you go, when your kids are watching Dad fight, I mean, how are they? Are they as nervous as a long-tail cat in a room full of rocking chairs? Or I know they're veterans now. They've grown up watching you fight. You've had so many big fights, so many big moments. How are they? I know they were just basking in the glory just like you with that big win. How are the kids?
They said they're crazy. We don't let them sit too close to the octagon, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. It would have been horrible for my kids to be in the arena when I got knocked out by Jones last summer. So we try to keep them a little bit, put them in with the rest of the family, and then after the fight, they come down to octagon side. But they said my daughter's just going, go, Dad, go, Dad, go, Dad, just like losing it the whole time. And my boy could not be prouder. Nothing makes him happier than saying his dad's a UFC champion. Nothing makes my boy prouder than saying that. Outside of maybe saying, my dad beat some wrestler, beat a wrestler or something because he's a huge wrestling fan himself. But, yeah, man, Steve, I've been on this crazy ride that I could have never imagined growing up in Lafayette, Louisiana. But, I'm lucky enough to have done these things, lucky enough to experience them. And when it's all said and done, I'll look back and know that I had a good ride, right? Just like you said, look, it was a good ride. I had a great time, and we're just lucky, man. We're the lucky ones.
Hey, man, before we sign off, where can people find you on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or whatever?
Find me at DC_MMA on Instagram, on Twitter, and just Daniel Cormier MMA on Facebook, man. Just all over the place. Give me some support, and I appreciate the ones that have already started doing it or been doing it.
DC, man, it's a pleasure talking to you. Obviously, been a fan for a long time. We got a chance to meet, been friends for a little bit. We never see each other, but, man, I'm so proud of you and happy for you, and just to watch the body of hard work that you put in from your days in Lafayette and going back and watching all of your amateur wrestling stuff. Man, I'm so happy for you. You keep riding the lightning bolt, as Dusty Rhodes would say.
This has been a PodcastOne production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Sci-fi fans, this is your summer. Pluto TV's Summer of Cinema is bringing you a universe of free sci-fi movies. Discover new futures with The Matrix and World War Z. Host alien explorers with Arrival. Or beam up to Journey the Galaxy with Star Trek Beyond. The sun never sets in outer space. Or on streaming hundreds of free sci-fi movies when you download the Pluto TV app now. Pluto TV Summer of Cinema. Stream now. Pay never.
What's up, guys? I'm Brendan Schaub. If you love everything mixed martial arts, I'm talking UFC breakdowns, UFC picks, one championship picks, Bellator, PFL, you name it, your boy breaks it all down. Tune into The Schaub Show, available every Monday wherever you listen to your podcasts. The Schaub Show. Enjoy.